I want to address a concern or the flaw in Elon Musk's economic philosophy around money. He, in an interview, had said that he believes that we should see money as a database for resource allocation. And I think that requires a pretty deep examination. And actually, let me say this right now. Technical terms and kind of the industry jargon and, definitional elements of economics are not my strong suit right now. I'm working on it. This is definitely work in progress thinking. But at the same time, I think some of the best work in economics throughout its history have been done not necessarily through the math and definitions, but by simplifying. And I think I can make a solid case with the level of understanding that I'm at right now. So anyway, that being said, Musk has said we should view money as a database for resource allocation. And just like Aristotle or Adam Smith or even Marx, we need to consider the implications of that outlook and its impact on the economy, its potential impact, and sort of kind of walk our way back to get to that point and see forward based on that chain of cause and effect, right? And so we did that, like Smith, Marx, and even Aristotle, like they did that from early origins of trade. I need this thing, I have this to trade for that, and that person needs what I have, so we're going to trade, and it's going to be an exchange of these two goods, right? And as society grew, cities formed, a natural progression happened where currency was invented to serve a need in that domain. And so the introduction of currency opens up the industry of commerce, and that's where things like investing and profit seeking come to fruition. So thinkers like Adam Smith, Marx, right, they tied the value of a thing to the labor of producing it, or the labor of whatever it is, right? So that's the labor theory in economics. That was challenged in the era of Milton Friedman and other actors in that time period, the 20th century, and alternative perspectives came up, and all these kind of similar lines of thought needed to happen and needed to be explored. And the one thing, so trade of goods preceded currency. Currency was a natural progression and represented a store of value. Currency also rooted the value of everything in terms of labor. So now that we're at this point of late stage capitalism, which has completely divorced labor from value, like we're not really even looking at value in terms of labor at all anymore. This brings us to Musk's point. So shifting from labor and that perspective to resource allocation, I think, like, if I'm summarizing my issue with it, I think that's outside of economic vernacular. It is, for as much as we're tossing this around, it is an oligarchic, elitist, capitalist idea. It's kind of like my hypothesis or kind of gut reaction is that this is I have the feeling this will be in the same realm as trickle-down economics. Seeing currency or money as resource allocation completely skips the process of accumulating the bits of data for that resource allocation. So what is that, like, where does that resource allocation come from, right? So why would you describe, like, it's so odd that you would describe it that way, because like it just completely takes the labor out of it. So from my point of view, that appears to be a thought that comes from someone who isn't a laborer, and laborers make up a majority of our workforce, because that's like the only people who I would say maybe aren't falling into that category are, below like everyone below the C-suite, executives, right? Or like investors, day traders, things like that. So because what does work mean then, right? Like I work to increase my resource allocation, like funding. I work to increase the number, like the resources to be allocated. Why place the value? You have to ask that question. Why place the value on resource allocation? And part of me, and this is where now we get into sort of my speculative area. And I will note right now, specifically, Elon is basing this off of information theory. That is the basis, as he has described it himself. Information theory is the basis of this claim that money should be looked at as resource allocation. Information theory is the thing that I need to study in order to be confident in my position here. I've only done the high level kind of snapshot look. It stems from coding and computers, computer engineering, and kind of the digital infrastructure, right? So our digital infrastructure is based on information theory. And so now I'm totally speaking speculatively. To me, that seems like this techno-futuristic, weird mindset that a lot of tech leaders have, in that, like, the way that we build strong technology is the way that we should operate throughout life. And I fundamentally, I just disagree with that. I don't want that to be our future. And so I'm sure that in terms of the math, then there's likely going to be a significant correlation there. But just my knee-jerk reaction is he's coming into it from a very, like, he wants it to be information theory is the sense that I get. And it's similar. And I just listened to a Lex Friedman podcast in the economics space, and there was a similar, like, kind of in the early introducing math to economics, formally introducing math to economics, it feels like it's going to be a similar thing to that, because at that time, economists could basically just go to Congress or, whoever, with some numbers, and having numbers was enough to establish credibility or expertise in the area. Turns out that was wrong, and there were a lot of really negative consequences because of that. I think that this is the same. I'm not capturing though, like, the thing that really bothers me, like resource allocation. Like that's not true for everybody. That's only true, like, if you have resources to allocate, right? There are, like, how many people, statistics are overwhelming in this area. Like, how many people are living paycheck to paycheck or in debt, right? If you're in debt, can you really, resource allocation toward debt? Sure. But that's not the sense that I get when I hear him talk about it. He's thinking of it as, I can acquire rocket fuel, right? Or I can buy out a company to source this specific thing, right? Like, it comes from a high horse, kind of elitist point of view. It's a top-down, again, top-down economics, which is another thing that comes up. Having top-down economic focus, but a bottom-up political, can't work. You have to have alignment in the flow of that. I don't know, man. Just grasping at straws now. Now I am shifting the conversation to a completely unrelated topic to try to strengthen my argument. So I know that this is not great thinking, but we already know that people are going to die because of his decision making, because of his approach here. So this chainsaw to government programs, he's clearly how about this? Either he's clearly not able to comprehend the scale of this and the cause and effect chain reaction of all of this. So the US AID, USAID, right? They gutted that. They shut it down. Turns out like they're like the leading like HIV treatment people in the US. Like, so it's not just a foreign aid, like we're handing out money type of thing. Like, they're helping people with critical, like life or death illnesses in the US. Babies too. Like, so that treatment shuts down the treatment that helps pregnant people. There's like a specific highly effective treatment for fetuses so that they can be born and without HIV. And without this treatment, these babies are born with it, and they typically die within the first year. So roughly 1 year from now, there's going to be a huge conversation around exactly this, because that's when all of those, we're going to have the tangible numbers on that piece alone. Probably, and then sooner than that is likely going to be the adult HIV treatments that are no longer accessible. And the list goes on, because they've been doing this dramatic attack on so many different aspects. Like, either they don't know how bad it's going to be, or they know and they don't care. They're sort of shaking the loose branches off the tree. I don't know, what's the expression? The low-hanging fruit. I don't like it. It kind of is starting to feel like they know what's going to happen, and they're doing it anyway, because it's going to weed out the people that they don't want to be here. So that's the same thing. I think the parallel can be drawn to his economic philosophy on money. I think that's my hypothesis. That's my gut instinct. I haven't done my homework on information theory yet. I need to dig into more of this, but